Kia reti anō ki tō tarangi ho mai ki a mātou ainei he taro mo mātou mo tēnei rā. Muru o mātou hara me mātou hoki e muru nei. No te hune e hara ki a mātou, ia hoki mātou e kāwea ki a whakawaia. Engari, whakiorani a mātou e te kino, no hoki te rangatiratanga, te kaha me te gloria. Ake, amene. Kia ora.
Thank you very much. Murray, do we have any apologies?
Sorry, Michael, unmuted. No, as far as I know, we haven't got any apologies. I'm just waiting, hopefully, for Megan to join the meeting. She shouldn't be too far away.
Okay. I think we'll just do a quick round of introductions for anybody that is live streaming in. So Sandra, you're immediately to my right. If you could lead off, please. Sandra, you're on mute.
She's still on mute.
It's actually quite good.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Right, Sandra, kia ora. Sandra Stewart, Waimak District Council, waimakariri District Council. Thank you.
And Arapata, you are next on my screen. I hope this is going to work.
He's muted as well.
You're on mute. This is going to be a challenge.
Kia ora tātou, ko Arapata Ruben toko ingoa, representing Naitua Huriri Renanga. Kia ora.
Lovely. Judith, please.
Judith Roper-Lindsay, community member on the board.
Okay. Kelly, you seem to pop up next, sir.
Hello there, I'm Kelly Simpson, Three Waters Manager with the Waimakariri District Council, so staff member participating in the meeting.
Thank you. Sophie.
Kia ora koutou, Sophie Allen, Water Environment Advisor at Waimakariri District Council. I'm happy to be meeting again.
Thank you. Murray.
Kia ora all. Murray Griffin, CWMS Facilitator for the wonderful Waimakariri Water Zone Committee from Environment Canterbury.
Thanks, Murray. Wendy. Are you there?
Just trying to unmute, it's all right.
Well,
Wendy Main, I'm a community member.
thank you, Wendy. John.
Kia ora tātou, John Cook, and I'm a Runanga rep on the committee.
Thank you. Erin.
Erin Harvey, community member.
Thank you. Caroline.
Hi, Caroline Latham, Nee Williams, community member.
Thank you. David.
David Ashby, community member.
Thank you. Zipporah.
Kia ora everyone, Zipporah Cloak, Biodiversity Officer for Zone Delivery Environment Canterbury.
Okay. Oh, I see we have Tim in the room.
Kia ora koutou, ko Tim Davey toko inga. Tim Davey, I'm the Chief Scientist at Environment Canterbury, and I'm the Acting Director of Science, standing in for Stephanie, who often comes along. So,
lovely.
Kia ora.
Thank you, Tim. John.
Yeah, John Boone, just public observer from the Department of Conservation.
Lovely. Adrian, is that you there? I can just see the
Yep.
Yeah, look at that. I'm looking at your seat. Tilt your screen down, mate. I'm looking at your
sorry. There you go, that's better, isn't it? Kia ora, Adrian Meredith, ECAN staff member, principal scientist in freshwater ecology and freshwater and ecology. Cheers.
Thank you. Amber.
Kia ora, I'm Amber Kraliger. I'm groundwater scientist at Environment Canterbury for the Waimakariri zone.
Thank you. Marco.
Kia ora. Marco Cataloni, ECAN, Zone Lead, Waimakariri, Huranui in Zone Delivery.
And I'm just trying to see who else we've got coming up now. Cam, are you there?
Yeah, Mike, yes, I'm here. I'm multitasking. I'm just driving home from Christchurch, so apologies. Hopefully I don't cut in and out too much.
No, that's all right. Thank you. So Cam is our Vice Chairman, does an excellent job up there in Oxford. Angus.
Kia ora, Angus McLeod, Environment Canterbury Communications.
Lovely. Mr. Bennett, are you there?
Hi, Greg Bennett, Stormwater Engineer, Waimakariri District Council.
Lovely. And Thea, you're there. I have to apologise. Is there anybody I've missed? Because I'm scrolling through here. I think we're there.
You just me. So Andrew.
Oh, save the best to last.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah. Kia ora, Andrew Arps, Zone Delivery Manager for Environment Canterbury for North Canterbury. Thank you.
Come back. Apologies, I've just lost myself. That was good, wasn't it? Here we go. Coming back. Right, hopefully I'm back with you. All righty, we'll move to item 1.4, which is registrations of interest from the committee members' point of view. Is there any changes or additions that they would like to make to that, please? Excellent, I'll take that as a no. Item 2, which is the immediate steps biodiversity update. Zipporah, you gave us a fairly good overview at our previous meeting. Is there any sort of additional information you'd like to add or flesh out with these projects, please?
There's been no new information other than that I have been in contact with all 4 project applicants, and they're still very keen, despite all the confusion and uncertainty that's been happening. They're still very keen to progress the projects, and yeah.
Cool. I think that sentiment is fairly strong amongst the committee, but I'll just open it now if any individual committee members would like to comment on any of these projects. And sorry, I haven't got everybody on screen, so just go for it.
Can I?
Sandra.
Can I? Yeah. When you put it to the vote, can you put it individually? There's 4 of them. Can you put them individually, please?
Yes, I think that would be possible.
Thank you. Do you want comment now for discussion, or how do you want to go from now?
Well, I think if there's any comment you'd like to make, let's kick it around now.
Well, okay. Well, I do have a comment. I've asked for them to be put individually because I won't be supporting 1.1 Burges stream, the 10,000 going there, simply because it is, while it's a worthy, quite a worthy project, I don't see it being worthy of immediate steps funding, in that that funding is to halt and reverse decline of loss of Indigenous biodiversity. And while this is worthy rehabilitation and riparian planting, to me it doesn't fit the criteria. And quite frankly, I do believe, as I've said before, that this should be part of a farm environment plan, particularly part of the environment component of a farm environment plan. And it should be a matter of course that the farmer rehabilitates the stretch of stream and does the riparian planting. which hasn't been the case. And I do think, particularly in the light also of our new freshwater module that's coming in with our new reforms, that in fact this will be part and parcel of a freshwater module that will go into a farm environment plan. So it has a low score, as Zipporah has indicated, because of the nature of the rehabilitation. It's $10,000 for 1,000 square metres of rehabilitation work. And when you compare to the other 3 on the agenda, we're proposing to put 14,000 into the Springvale wetland, which is 12.3 hectares, has a score of 73%. Hammond's wetland equally, a large area, 62%, 10 grand. The Ord wetlands over 2 years, again 56 and 62%. This one scores just 23%. So I've said to Will before that in fact that they should be encouraging their shareholders to put some money aside or levying through their water charges to make sure that this type of stream rehabilitation and riparian planting is part and parcel of good stewardship of the land, and also part and parcel of what is just the basics for a farm environment plan or farm management. So with that, I can't support Burges Stream. I'm very happy to support the other 3, but I just want my vote for those reasons. Recognise that it doesn't make the grade as far as I'm concerned for immediate steps, though it is, as I've said, worthy of rehabilitation and should be part and parcel of good farm management. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Do we have any other comments from committee members, please?
Yeah, David, Michael, if I could. I do support the Burges Stream one for a number of reasons. I'm not concerned that it has low ecological value now, and one of my little hobby horses about the whole of IMS is the fact that it doesn't allow for the development of native communities in places where there aren't any under the term restoration or renovation. There are ecological values in the waterway. It's just not the ecological values on the land of indigenous vegetation. So I think anything that starts to restore and regenerate indigenous vegetation and animals in the water is important and is valuable, especially in the area that this site is. And I do think that mission to, I'm not quite sure of the wording, but halt the decline and is something that goes beyond the site, that this is a project which actually will be a sort of model for neighbours up and downstream, so that it might not, while it doesn't do everything on that site, I think there will be benefits to halting the decline and carrying out restoration elsewhere. I agree that it would be nice if Will could take more money from their members and start to develop things. I'd like to think that this might be a first indicator of what can happen and make their members a little bit more willing to give up some money, and Will might make this happen in the first place. And I would not like to see this as a precedent that all Will fencing and restoration comes to us for an IMS funding, but see this as perhaps a kickstarter. Thanks.
Lovely. Thank you, Judith. Anyone else?
Yeah, just a couple of comments, Michael. I remember us having quite a discussion around where best bang for buck was with regards to immediate steps funding. And there was a clear message coming from ECAN that it wasn't for recreation or restoration or creating new. They were rather enhancing what existing wetlands were already out there. So this one kind of goes against that understanding. But like Sandra, I support the merit of it, but we'd just like to see some consistency in all future projects where it's restoring from old or recreating new.
Yep.
I just like to be really consistent in it. Yeah. So for that reason, because I have a number of projects that wouldn't have fitted under Zipporah's direction earlier in the year. But if we're going to allow for this one, then I'd like to see us consistent in all other ones similar to that. Particularly if there's going to be more farmers that are going to take heed of this one and hopefully do similar. Yeah. Kia ora.
Yep. Thank you, Arapana. All right.
I think that is it, isn't it? It's a question of whether it fits the very specific guidelines for IMS as they stand now, or whether it fits into the wider benefits to, as I say, plants and animals. It's what's living in the waterway, not just native vegetation.
Yep. Sandra.
Yeah, just a question following on from what Arapana has just said. Can staff comment on the fact, I mean, this doesn't fit the criteria, and while it's worthy, and as Judith has said, would like it a bit of a flagship for others. What happens if we get a whole swag of others that don't fit the criteria like this one? This immediate steps fund is quite specific, and we're bending the rules here for other values and what have you, and I can understand that, though I don't support it. So if in fact what Judith has said happens, what is the staff's response going to be to applications that don't fit the stringent IMS criteria?
All right. Well, possibly if the appropriate staff member could make note of that and follow up with us when we have our workshop or at the next meeting, that would be a valuable conversation. I'm just conscious we are reasonably tight for time today, Sandra, so anybody else? Right, I'm going to try and flip this on its head rather than everybody having to turn their mics on individually and say that you are in favour. I'm going to ask for anybody who is against, and I'm going to take the silence as the affirmative, if that makes sense. So the recommendation is that we, the CWMS Waimakariri Zone Committee, support the 4 immediate steps applications, and I'm going to do these as Sandra's request. We're breaking them down into individual projects. The first one is 1.1, the Burges Stream project for $10,000.
No.
I'd just like it noted that I support if consistent with for future projects of a similar vein.
Thank you. And the silence is carried. Thank you. Then we move on to 1.2, the Hammonds Wetland project for $10,000. Everybody happy? Carried. 1.3, the Springvale Wetland project for $14,000. There. And the last one is 1.4, the Ald Wetlands project for $26,000. So those are the 4 projects that have been proposed. We seem to have a great silence of approval. So can I have a mover, please, for that? Erin, thank you. A seconder, and you'll have to speak because I only saw Erin wave a hand. That was lucky.
Yeah, I might have able to second if you want.
Thank you, John. Carried. Item 3, committee updates from Murray. What have we got?
Just moving through.
So we've got a couple there.
Sorry, folks. I might try and split the screen so I can see everything all at once. The first one relates to, and I can probably hand it over to our WDC staff members who may want to speak to this, but we've included this really just to give the committee a chance to provide some feedback on the stockwater race closure at Sienna Place. So there's a paper included, and Libica sent it through for us to include in the meeting papers. And you'll see in the updates that we've got to the 30th of June to provide any feedback on this closure. So we've got two options. We can either provide some feedback directly to Libica by email, or we can note anything in the minutes of today's meeting, which Tia will obviously kindly record. So I'll perhaps open up for any comments on that or questions.
I can give a bit more background, Murray, just before any questions or feedback comes from the committee. So
Thanks,
this is a 1.6 metre section of water race at the terminal end of our scheme. It goes through the a rural residential area. So it's no longer required for its original purpose of stock drinking water. And I think from the Zone Committee's perspective is the question of what impact is it providing in terms of groundwater recharge. So in 1.5 of the report, there's a basic assessment based on length of race indicating that it's about 0.2% of our total stock water length and total. So it's also an area where we actually get resurgence rather than discharge to ground, although under certain conditions discharge to ground would actually occur. So we're seeking feedback. Any future races that we look to close, we will be bringing reports to the Zone Committee as well, so you're aware of it, so you've got oversight of changes that are occurring. So we're seeking feedback on this, and your feedback will be taken into consideration as part of the final report going through to council WDC elected members for a decision. That won't be until later this year, probably not until about October will council hear this final report, making a ruling on that. So happy to take any questions or feedback to Murray.
Sorry, I've got a surprise. I've got a question, Callie. Thank you for bringing this to us, because this is quite interesting. I just wondered, obviously, first of all, are there any ecological values in the stockwater race? And secondly, the nature of the reason the individual wanted it stockwater race closed, presumably they weren't interested in the stockwater side of things. And then there were some objections as to why people didn't want it closed.
Yeah, so probably I'll address the second question first. So in terms of the people that have opposed the closure, they're more worried about ensuring that the closure is not going to adversely affect any drainage issues in the area. Yeah. So that will be a key consideration, and it's almost like a two-step process. The first is closing the stockwater race, which effectively is a paper exercise and removes the classification as a stockwater race, so they no longer pay rates for the service. In terms of the physical channel itself, that's a second step where it needs to be demonstrated that filling in the channel is not going to have any adverse effects for drainage in the area. So the two people that opposed it were more a conditional opposition to it, like provided it doesn't have any detrimental effects on drainage. In terms of the ecological values, Sophie might be able to comment a bit further on this section of race. That is one of the key things that will be discussed in the report going to council. I don't know if there are any ecological values in this particular stretch of the race. One thing we actually find is that the terminal end, and particularly through rural residential areas, there's real challenges with keeping flow occurring throughout 365 days of the year. So that is one of the reasons that people have actually asked for it to be closed. Sophie, have you got anything further to add on the ecological values?
Oh, just to complement what you're saying about it being ephemeral, yeah, that probably would likely lead to fewer species that could inhabit the stockwater races. I haven't surveyed this particular race, but we are looking at doing a wider survey of 10 sites coming up shortly to get a bit more idea around what is in the stockwater races. So that can
I
give
guess, I mean, it's my usual concern is just, did anybody look? Is there a place in the assessment for somebody just to go and check, rather than it just being an engineering groundwater exercise? So, I mean, I've obviously flagged it. You're obviously aware of it. I'm quite happy with that. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to give you assurance, we have got a documented process for closures of stockwater races, and considering the ecological values as part of that as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Judith, in answer to your question, I went and had a look this morning, and effectively there's no flow there at the moment. So maybe this is a paper exercise to tidy that up. I'm not sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, can I chip in there? If I drop off, I'll put a note on the chat thing, but I guess on the face of it, I agree, it's a piffling little amount of stockwater race, and it's going to be neither here nor there, but I guess it's the overall principle of it, in that if we keep chipping away at this stockwater system, is that going to have an impact? And I just wondered whether, when you survey the property owners, are they aware that that irrigation and stockwater race system makes a significant impact on the nitrate concentrations in that whole area? Are they aware of that fact?
In terms of the first part of your question, I think we are also mindful that incremental changes don't add up to a total change that then has an overall negative impact. So to counter that, we have done some work already looking at over the last 20 years changes to the stockwater race system and how much it's actually changed. So we will actually keep track of that, and we're happy to bring back kind of whether it's annual or every second year summaries to the zone committee, so you can actually see the net effect of any changes that are occurring to the stockwater race system. I think in terms of the second part of your question, there definitely are people out there that are aware of the benefits of the stockwater race system. But you do get quite a wide-ranging views and opinions from people, and some of them are actually like the people in Sienna Place, that they're actually, for them, they've been trying for a long time to get this section of the water race closed, because they've got something going through their property that they no longer use. It's more of a nuisance for them than a benefit for them. So I think part of education is actually going to be our broader education on stockwater. That is one of the aspects that we have been working on as a council.
Oh yeah, no, that sounds good. Thanks, Kelly. I just thought, if you're out there asking those landowners questions, it would be good for them to be, and they weren't aware, it would be good for them to be made aware that actually the stockwater and irrigation races, they do make a big contribution, so that they have that information to make their comments on.
Yep.
Cool. Any other comments on that? Well, we might leave it up to the individual members to submit on that particular issue if they so desire. Murray, what else have you got?
Thank you, Michael. Following on from that discussion, the next item, again, just in terms of something that is currently available and will be closed by the time the committee convenes again, is the Canterbury Biodiversity Initiative Fresh Habitat Fund. And I've included, it's page 33 of the agenda papers, the flyer with regard to that Fish Habitat Fund, and just wanted to bring it to the committee's attention that that's open for projects through to the 3rd of July. And obviously being very relevant and topical to the committee, I thought it was good for you to know, and you may well either know of areas or of people who would be interested in this information and this fund and applying. I spoke with Chloe Armour, my colleague at Environment Canterbury, just to confirm what's the most practical way. There is an application form which I very nearly put in the meeting agenda papers until I realised it probably wasn't that useful for anybody to have a document you can't do much with while it's in a PDF format and in an agenda. So consequently, Chloe said the easiest thing to do, if you or anybody else does have a project that they're interested in seeking funding for, then they contact her and she'll send out the application form and provide some guidance and advice on the fund. So I don't know if there's any questions at the stage that you'd like to ask with regards to that, but it was very much like the immediate steps applications, just looking to get this in front of you in June, and like the stormwater closure as well, that it will be closed by the time we convene again.
Zipporah, are you still with us?
Yep, still here.
Does that sort of fall under your umbrella at all in terms of any recommendations you've got?
Yeah. So I do work with Chloe, and if anything comes up in the course of my scoping projects that I go, actually, it's not really IMS, it does fit better with her fund, then I recommend it to her. Yeah.
And in terms of WDC, have we got, Sandra, is anything?
Yeah, I'm happy to comment on that, or Sandra, if you want. Would you prefer? So we already, last year we put in 3 applications for Inanga spawning habitat improvements, and one wasn't able to be progressed at the time, but that's going to be resubmitted. Well, I think it's already in for next year. It was approved, but in next year's budget. So that's the Taranaki Stream Reserve Inanga spawning habitat improvement, just above the floodgate there.
Excellent. Yep.
And we are looking at potentially a few other projects as well. So I've been in discussion with Kate, and probably will be in touch with a few people at ECAN just to sort out a few details of whether the proposals are worthwhile pursuing.
Lovely. Yep. Thank you. Any comment from committee members?
Sophie, sorry, Judith here. Sophie or Kate, this struck me that it might be something to be used in the Pegasus area to try and discover if the mudfish that were there 10, 15 years ago are still there. Perhaps I'll come and talk to one of you sometime soon, just to see if that's a project that you might be able to put together.
Yeah, the fund is quite explicitly for CapEx works for habitat improvement. It's not, it's not unfortunately for survey work. It's something that Kate and I have also been discussing. We'd love to have funds to be able to get more knowledge about. But I have done some survey work in that wetland previously before my role here. So, and there is a wetland on private land just off Main North Road that's been suggested to me where the landowner wants to develop his wetland. And trapping in the past has shown no fish there, so it might be a suitable translocation site.
Okay,
but whether that fits this fund as well, whether translocations allowed in the fund, or I think it is actually. I think translocations are fine.
One of the things that we're following up at the moment is that we know that there have been surveys done sort of by NIWA and ECAN previously on structures and waterways in our district, and that those were sort of assessed as to whether they impeded fish passage or not. So we're trying to find that data and get it added to NIWA's like fish structures database. I think that might be a good starting point in terms of us applying for some of this funding.
Thanks, Kate. I've just stepped into that silence thinking that might be the end of the discussion on that item, unless there's anything else any committee members want to raise.
That silence was me. Sorry, Murray. Couldn't find my unmute button. Again. Yep. Arapata, is there any projects from the Runanga's point of view that might come in there?
Yes, there are a couple, but we're going to probably bring them up in discussions next week during our Mahitahi Joint Committee meeting with Council. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Next one, Murray.
The next one is our regular, if you like, if you take the COVID situation out of the mix, of meeting update around Plan Change 7. So just we have touched on this from the committee's perspective in workshops over the last couple of months. So there's no significant change at all from what we've heard previously, in terms of that there is still yet to be a confirmed date for the hearing itself. And I've included in this update just the direct reference to that minute 3 that confirmed, because of the COVID-19 situation, that the hearing was postponed and that no further date would be set until we had greater clarity. So it's really just an update of where to get that information that I've provided there in that Plan Change 7 update. The other thing to note is, of course, that the Section 42A report is now available on that page as well. But they are the major 2 points, I guess, at this stage. So I don't know if there's any questions further to that.
Yeah, Murray, Cameron here. Has the release of the essential freshwater directional documents impacting those timelines at all? Are they likely to wait for the new MPS and NES before they progress with the hearing?
That's a good question, Cam, and I think we've got included in the information further in the committee updates on the Action for Healthy Waterways. We've also got a statement, and Angus may be able to step in here, that relates to Plan Change 7. So I could have put it in either under Plan Change 7 or under Actions for Healthy Waterways. And I think I've got it, if I can jump to that.
I can talk to that, Murray, if you'd like.
Yes, certainly, Tim.
It's always a bit tricky. The short answer is there won't be any delay specifically to wait for the NPS-FM and the gazetted NPS-FM, which we're not quite sure on where that would be. But at the same time, we are acutely aware that the plan has to align with the NPS-FM. So it's a bit of a fine line. It's really up to the hearing commissioners to work out how that would occur, but we won't be doing any specific delay, to line up with a timetable.
Thank you, Tim. And on page 23 of the meeting agenda papers, under the Action for Healthy Waterways update, which is item 4, I've got the question there: does the government's freshwater package mean Plan Change 7 needs to be changed? Which was an FAQ that was quickly hot off the press on that day. As we were collating these papers, the Action for Healthy Waterways were released. So we were landing that into the updates as it was being written effectively. So that just provides, I guess, in reinforcing what Tim's just said, with regards to, I guess the way Plan Change 7 will respond to the freshwater package released by government. Are there any other questions on Plan Change 7 this stage. I can probably just keep moving, Michael, in terms of, and I'll deal with the other moving into the next set of updates there. It's just with regards to the annual report, you're just acknowledging the fact that you and Cam, I think, represented the committee very well in front of both councils, Waimakariri District Council and Environment Canterbury, respectively over the lockdown period. So those briefings, I think, were very well received by both councils. I don't know if there's anything that Megan appears to not be able to make the meeting. She is in transit, much like Cam is, but has struggled to get on. So Tia, we may end up recording Megan as an apology for this meeting. She's tried, but technology is thwarting her at this stage. And I was just thinking Megan may want to comment with regards to the briefing that Michael and Cam provided to the Environment Canterbury Council. I don't know if Sandra, if you want to add anything in terms of the Waimakariri District Council briefing. Possibly not.
No, she's happy.
She's happy. That's great. Well, look, I'll move on then. We come to the Action for Healthy Waterways information I've provided for you, which, as I mentioned before, was hot off the press on the day we were collating the papers. So I quickly pulled that together as an overview of the information for the committee and whoever refers to the meeting agenda papers, just so it gives you an initial overview of the content. I was going to include one of the PDFs that was initially sent to me, but realised that you'll see in the bullet points there the information for the following are available, that there are a whole series of PDFs that were available on that website. So consequently, rather than including one, I just referenced that, and you've got the link to go to the page and look at them all. So and then on to page 23 of the meeting agenda papers, you'll then see the FAQ we just discussed with regards to how Plan Change 7 relates at this stage to the government's freshwater package, and as Tim's outlined. So that was really, there'll be more information obviously coming through, but that was just what we collated on the day as we were putting the papers together. So you had some initial reference with regards to what the government's released. So I don't know if there's any questions with regards to that. Shall I proceed on, Michael?
You carry on, Murray, you're doing good.
The next item, which we may want to have a quick discussion on, Sandra and Erin have both raised a couple of good questions with regards to this update I've received from the groundwater science team. So to give a wee bit of background for Amber and Tim, who will be wondering what on earth I've done by putting this in the committee meeting papers, I picked this up from an update Carl Hansen provided to the regional committee. And it was, I thought, very topical, particularly with regards to this information now being on the LAWA site, which I'm sure all the committee members will be aware of, is increasingly being utilised across the whole country to provide this sort of information. So what Carl was updating the regional committee on was the fact that this information is now available on the LAWA site. So I thought it useful. I've also included it in the Kaikoura meeting agenda papers for that reason, being the other committee I work with. So I've included that as just a general update for the committee. And I don't know if we want to touch back now to the questions that were raised with regards to this item. So I can perhaps quickly hand it back to Sandra and Erin if you'd like to just touch on those points.
Yeah, if we just got the two questions that each of the zone committee members have, they could put them forward, Murray, and they be noted. Yeah, I think it'll be something we need. The staff member will need a wee bit of time to come back to answer, so that could be replied to at the next meeting, please. Sandra.
That's fine. Sandra and Erin, are you happy with that? I'll assume what Michael said is fine, and that will enable Amber in particular and myself to follow up on that for you.
Yeah, that'll be fine. I've got some questions in relation to one of the other agenda items coming up. But yep.
Great.
I was just going to ask about the 2019, as you see, nitrate levels, and I just wondered if, seeing Tim is here, whether he had any comment to make about the increasing trend in the southern sites in Waimakariri in the northern area of Christchurch City, or is that going to come together for a report, as Murray's indicated?
Well, sorry, is that what your question is, that you'd like it come back on, Sandra, or was there another question? I'm just a little bit unclear.
Yes, well, in the agenda it talks about no change in trend, looking back to the 2017 figures, but in fact the 2019 map on your website, one of those links there shows, and the wells that are sampled to this on the south end of Waimakariri and the north side of Christchurch have an increased nitrate trend, which doesn't fit with what the overall summary is, and I just wanted to understand where that is all coming from and what is the increasing trend in the southern side of the district. But I mean, if that can come through in a report, that's fine. It didn't seem to gel.
Look, I don't think I can comment on that just off the top of my head, so it's probably better to wait for a fuller staff response.
Yep.
I can comment on the little change since 2017 that refers to the nitrate risk maps. So it means that the maps haven't changed much since 2017. So this doesn't refer to specific wells, if that helps.
Not really, but thank you. Just the link that's with the report, well, in on the ECAN website, which I can't bring up to you at the moment, does show an increased trend in nitrate levels on the southern side of the district and the northern end of the top end of Christchurch City. So just querying that, and whether someone could have a look at that and come back and talk us through exactly what is happening. I mean, is this what we're expecting to happen, where we get worse before we get better? Seeing Plan Change 7 isn't really in operation at this point, so whether that could be part and parcel of a report for discussion at a future, next meeting, say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. Any other questions on that at the moment? Cool. Murray, is there anything else there on your committee update?
The last item under committee updates is just noting that the regional committee hasn't met since 11th of February, and Carolyn does at our March meeting had provided an update on that meeting, and you'll see that I think Carolyn may want to update us on that, but I think they're looking to reconvene in July.
Oh, okay. All right then, so I have a recommendation that the CWMS Waimakariri Zone Committee receives these updates with references to the committee's 2020 work programme and community engagement priorities. So can I have a mover for that, please?
I'll move that. Yeah.
Judith, seconder. Somewhere. I can't see if you're waving at me.
I think David,
is he using his good arm or his old arm?
I'm using my good bad old arm. Good.
Thanks. Seconded, Dave. And again, anybody opposed to those? So I'll take it as carried. Thank you. Right, item 4, which is The minutes of our previous meeting, March 2020, confirmation. So I have a recommendation that we confirm these minutes as being a true and accurate record. Can I have a mover, please?
I'll move that.
Thank you, Judith. Seconder.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. Matters arising. Sandra.
Thank you. Just perhaps a verbal update of, you'll be aware that in those minutes, Michael Bates' concerns about the spraying that along the waterways and around along Upper Kaiapoi and Courtney Lake. I would suspect, Murray, you're going to formally reply and minute to the committee about where that's all at, but just verbally, both waimakariri and ECAN have been approached over that spraying, which certainly looks like it's done professionally, and neither waimakariri contractors or ECAN contractors say they were responsible for it. So it remains at this point somewhat of a mystery, and I don't know where the zone committee will go forward with it, unless anyone has got any more comment. I see Jared may have something to add.
Yeah, that is correct, Sandra. There was no record of any Waimakariri contractors or staff, and no record of Environment Canterbury contractors or staff. But look, in discussion with both Waimakariri and Environment Canterbury, we've certainly taken it as a example to show contractors, including those that work for us, that they're, regarding the care about what they're doing in terms of spraying. So look, I don't think, I think Waimakariri and Environment Canterbury have been pretty thorough in trying to find out where who did that spraying, and we're not going to be able to find anything more now than and unless someone comes forward with some information. So yeah, look, we're not proposing to investigate it any further, but other than to make sure that we do actually try and use that as a something to from an educational point of view for people who are working for us, either as staff or contractors.
Thanks, Jared.
Any other matters? Corker. Item 5, general business.
Michael, I could probably add reference to the 2 items I emailed through to the committee earlier today. One being an update on the CWMS Zone Committee review. So at the time that we collated the papers, and in fact it wasn't until Friday afternoon that we had an update, which I've encouraged the folks to do, a monthly update for all of the committees. So that was available this morning. So I've forwarded it through to you. We'll obviously look to have another one in July. So that's really just to give you, as committee members, a reference to where that review is at and where it's and what the next steps are. So I've forwarded it through to Tia as well, so she can include that as part of the papers, if that's appropriate. And the other item was from Anna Veltman, just highlighting the drop-in sessions that are coming up for farmers in June and July. So again, just to enable the committee members to circulate to anybody that you think would be interested in those. So Anna was just keen to get that to committee members, so I thought I'd include that under general business as well. So certainly feel free to forward that on to anyone you think would be interested in popping in.
Sandra.
Thank you. Just a general update. As you're aware, Waimakariri has a Land and Water Committee, which I chair. The full council last week brought the Kaiapoi River Rehabilitation Subcommittee and the Cam River Enhancement Subcommittee into the terms of reference for the Land and Water Committee. So the work program that is the Cam River Enhancement and also Kaiapoi River will come through that committee now. And you're most welcome to come along. It's 9:30 on a Thursday morning, and we're meeting physically on Thursday. So come along. And I supply chocolate biscuits.
Oh, well, in that case.
Judith.
Yes, I just wanted to raise something that we might either have a briefing on at the next meeting or discuss in a workshop. Some of you will have seen that long-tailed bats were discovered in South Kent in on the Geraldine farm last week. Depending whether you read Stuff or you listen to Country Life, they were discovered in the course of preparation by a farm advisor in the course of preparing a farm environment plan. She suggested that bats might be there, and there should be a survey done before the plan is prepared. The alternative is that they talked to somebody in OTOP who thought the bats might be there. But either way, it just raised one of these issues that there are biodiversity values on farms that are not significant sites and not significant vegetation or whatever. And as to whether these do get picked up in the preparation of farm environment plans, and whether in Waimakariri zone, and I guess Caroline or David who prepare these plans can help, there needs to be just some sort of awareness among farm advisors about the non-significant biodiversity values. So I'm just raising that as something perhaps we could talk with, Zipporah, Kate, Sophie, John Ben over the next few months. Thank you.
I think it would probably also be really valuable for the district council to be notified when things like that are found, because they probably would qualify as significant habitat sites.
Yeah, I was thinking of actually the council knowing in order to tell the other way around, to tell the farmers or landowners. It's not necessarily farmers these days. Thanks.
Yeah, there is a bit of a disconnect, Judith. So with the farm environment plans, the result of the audit goes to Environment Canterbury, but it's not public information about what's in the farm environment plans. So it would have to be a voluntary side from the farmers to willing to share what they are working on in those biodiversity sections with the district council, for example.
But I'm just thinking of how they, in preparing those plans, they actually think, oh, there might be bats there. They're not. Bats are unlikely in North Canterbury, well, but not impossible. But there could be gecko living on that caprosma over the corner and things like that. So just that awareness of non-significant things that need to be thought of in managing a farm. Oh, yeah.
But having the awareness of where they are preparing that farm environment plan and when it's due for review, having that information, having a bit of a circular discussion, would be great. But I can understand why there are constraints with sharing that information.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Down south in one of the southern zones, my colleague, they did a trial with the consents team. As farm environment plans came in, they would pass across his desk, and so he was able to review them because he's worked in the zone for a very long time and is very aware of where things like bats and things that might not get picked up are. Then he could flag them or go, actually, I don't think that's been picked up, and it warrants a site visit. Yeah, things like wetlands, which might not look like a traditional wetland, but it was an excellent trial, and it's done some amazing things. But it was very resource heavy, and it worked because he had such great knowledge of his zone. But we're reviewing how we could do that better.
I suspect that there's probably a big gap there, Judith, in that you know, that what you're talking about isn't identified in a lot of environment plans. I don't know what Dave's experience is, but I think in order to get better engagement there needs to be that direct farmer with an expert, you know, like a relatively neutral expert to get that sort of advice and information. As soon as you put something in a plan that could then end up on a planning map somewhere, you know, people do tend to not want to go anywhere near that.
But it depends on the, you know, somebody like you sort of just even going, oh, need to find out a bit more about this rather than
But there's a shortage of places to go and find out stuff, like, as you know, because I email you.
Maybe this is, sorry, Michael, maybe this discussion we can.
Yeah, I think we'll carry it on in our workshop, and because at the same time it's worth, you know, the whole fact that you're now going to have to start looking at a freshwater module incorporated into your plan. Now I know the government's still working out the finer points of that, but it's a similar point of where do you get that expertise from in the process. But yeah, I think we probably want to keep moving through this now, as valuable as a conversation this is. So, Murray, is there anything else there you had?
I believe that's it, Michael. I think we might be at the point of handing it back to Tia.
Yeah, I think we might be into overtime on our allotted time frame. So, unless there's anything else that's pressing there, now's your chance to bring it forward. Corker. Mr. Rubin, would you please do a karakia for us, please? Arapata, are you still with us? Has he left the building? Yeah, that's all right. Look, in the absence of Arapata, I'd like to thank you all for your time today. Our next meeting is on the 6th of July at 3:30, and all things going according to plan, hopefully that will be in person. And Sandra might even bring the chocolate biscuits to that if we're lucky. So thank you very much for putting up with me and my lack of technical skills on this, but I think we've covered some good points and I appreciate your time. So